I took the night shift at Willow Creek Estates out of desperation. It was a new, high-end development, still mostly empty, about 40 minutes outside the city. My job was simple: patrol the area, make sure no one broke into the unoccupied homes, and ensure the sparse, flickering streetlights were working. It was lonely work, but it paid the bills. The first few weeks were uneventful. Just me, the hum of the engine, and the heavy silence of brand new, uninhabited houses. Sometimes the fog would roll in so thick that the world outside my windshield seemed to disappear, leaving me feeling utterly isolated in a maze of perfect, vacant streets. The development was almost eerie in its perfection. Pristine lawns, identical mailboxes, and houses that looked like they'd been plucked from a magazine. Yet behind their gleaming windows, they were all hollow and cold. They felt less like homes, and more like elaborate stage props for a life yet to be lived. One Tuesday night, during my second patrol loop, I was doing a routine perimeter check on one of the larger show homes. The air was still and damp. I remember hearing my own breath, sharp and loud in the overwhelming quiet. Everything was secure, just as it always was. As I walked back to my car, I glanced across the street. In the upstairs window of a completely dark house, I thought I saw a faint, momentary flash of light, like a bulb flickering. I paused, squinting into the gloom, but it was gone, leaving only the oppressive darkness of the empty pane. Must have been my imagination, I mumbled to myself, checking my watch. It was past 3 in the morning. No construction crews worked these hours, and there certainly shouldn't have been anyone inside an unpurchased home. I shrugged it off, chalking it up to fatigue or a trick of the fog. A few minutes later, driving slowly past that same house, I looked up again. This time, there was no light, but through the grimy reflective glass of the upstairs window, I saw it. A dark, indistinct silhouette. It was standing absolutely still, facing outwards, like someone looking down at the street. My foot instinctively went for the brake. Who would be in there? It was too tall, too slender to be a child. A vagrant? But how did they get in? I considered stopping, but the silhouette was so still, so vague it almost seemed painted onto the glass. I convinced myself it was just a strange reflection. Back at the security booth, I reviewed my dashcam footage from that section of the patrol. I rewinded to the exact moment I'd seen the silhouette. Nothing. The window was dark, empty, reflecting only the streetlights. Not even a faint outline. It was unsettling. The camera saw nothing, but I distinctly remembered what I'd witnessed. For the next week, the feeling of being watched was constant. Every dark window seemed to hold a hidden eye. I would drive by a house, then instinctively check my rearview mirror, half expecting to see something new. My sleep was poor, filled with restless dreams of silent, empty rooms. Then, it happened again. This time, in a different house, just 2 streets over from the first. It was late, almost 4 a.m. The fog had lifted slightly, and I saw it standing in a front upstairs window. The silhouette was clearer, sharper. It was unnaturally tall, incredibly thin, and it was wearing something that looked like a uniform. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't a reflection. It was definitely a figure, a person, inside. But no lights were on, and it hadn't moved since I'd spotted it. It was standing perfectly still, like a mannequin. I slowly brought the car to a halt, my breath catching in my throat. I stared for a long moment, my hand fumbling for my radio. As I reached for it, the figure vanished. Not quickly, not like someone darting away, but more like a drawing being erased. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving only the black, featureless glass. I exited my patrol car, flashlight cutting through the lingering gloom. I approached the house slowly, my senses on high alert. The front door was locked, the windows all sealed tight. No footprints on the dew-kissed lawn, no broken glass, no sign of entry. It was impossible, yet I had seen it. The next few shifts were a blur of paranoia. Every shift, I felt its presence. I started seeing movement in my peripheral vision, quick dark blurs in other windows. I checked my own reflection in the car's rear-view mirror constantly, half expecting to see something else looking back. One night as I drove past the house where I'd last seen it, I instinctively checked my rear-view mirror. There it was. The figure. Clearer than ever, standing in the upstairs window, looking directly at my vehicle, and this time, as my car passed, it slowly, unnervingly, turned its head to follow me. I slammed on the brakes, my own face pale and terrified, stared back from my side mirror, perfectly overlaid on the dark, empty window behind, and that's when I saw it. The uniform. The figure was wearing a security uniform. The dark, familiar fabric, the glint of a badge. It was unmistakably my uniform. I looked down at my own uniform, then at my ID badge lying on the dash, my name, my picture. The face was mine, the uniform was mine. A cold, dreadful realization began to seep into my bones, chilling me far more deeply than the night air ever could. I looked up. There, directly in front of my windshield, it stood, tall, impossibly gaunt. Its uniform was identical to mine, down to the company logo patch. Its head was tilted, mirroring my own posture. Its face, though still obscured, gave the impression of a deep, empty gaze. It raised a hand, pressing its fingers flat against the glass, an exact mirror of my own gesture as I stared back in horror. My breath hitched. I looked down at my hands, clad in the familiar dark gloves. I looked at the uniform I was wearing, the very one the thing outside seemed to possess. Then I looked back up. The figure hadn't moved. It was still there, a perfect, silent reflection of me. I knew, with a certainty that reached into my bones, that I wasn't the first night guard at Willow Creek Estates. And I also knew, with a dread far colder than any fog, that I wasn't the last. I just hoped the next one didn't realize who was looking back from the windows.